trees in trouble. Question 1 to 7. List of the items. Paragraph A. Its answer is how wildlife benefits from big trees. Paragraph A. First line. Forests are they sustain countless other species. They provide shelter for many animals, and their trunks and branches can become gardens, hung with green ferns, orchids, and brown leaves, coated with mosses, and wrapped with vines. Paragraph A describes how wildlife benefits from big trees. Like they sustain countless of other species, they also provide shelter for many animals, and their trunks and branches can become gardens for wild animals. Paragraph B, its answer is 10. Factors that enable trees to grow to significant heights. Paragraph B, third line. To achieve giant stature, a tree needs three things: the right place to establish its seedlings, good growing condition, and lots of time with low adult mortality. Disrupt any of these and you can lose your biggest trees. And these are the three factors that enables trees to grow to significant heights. First is right place, second good growing condition, and third lots of time with low adult mortality. Heading for paragraph C is second. How other plants can cause harm. Paragraph C, second line. In southern India, for instance, an aggressive non-native shrub, Latana camara, is invading the floor of many forests. Latana grows so thickly that young trees often fail to take roots. With no young trees to replace them, it is only a matter of time before most of the big trees disappear. Across much of the northern Australia, gamba grass from Africa is overrunning native savanna woodlands. The grass grows up to 4 meters tall and burns fiercely, creating super-hot fires that cause catastrophic tree mortality. There is a mention of two plants that cause harm to other plants. First is an aggressive non-native shrub, Latana camara, and second is much of North Australia gamba grass from Africa. Heading for paragraph D is 9th. How higher temperatures slow the rate of tree growth. Reading the first line of paragraph D, without the right growing conditions, tree cannot get really big, and there is some evidence to suggest tree growth could slow in warmer world, particularly in environments that are already warm. During the day, their photosynthesis shuts down when it gets too warm, and at night they consume more energy because their metabolic rate increases. Explains David Clark. With less energy produced in warmer years and more being consumed just to survive, there is even less energy available for growth. Heading for paragraph E is 4th. Impact of big tree laws on the wider environment. The Clark's hypothesis, if correct, means tropical forest would shrink over time. The largest, oldest trees would progressively die off and tend not to be replaced. According to the Clark, this might trigger destabilization of the climate. As older trees die, forests would release some of their stored carbon into the atmosphere, promoting a vicious cycle of further warming, forest shrinkage, and carbon emission. And here is mention of the impact of big tree laws on wider environment. When older trees would die and tend not to be replaced. Their loss might trigger a destabilization of the climate, as when older trees die, forests release some of their stored carbon dioxide from dead trees into the atmosphere, which further create warming and forest shrinkage and carbon emission. Heading for paragraph F is 1. How deforestation harms the isolated trees. And here is the mention of how deforestation harms isolated trees. In the Amazon, my colleagues and I found the mortality rate for the biggest trees had tripled in small patches of rainforest surrounded by pasture land. This happens for two reasons. First, as they grow taller, big trees become thicker and less flexible. When winds blow across the surrounding cleared land, there is nothing to stop their acceleration. Here is the mention of isolated trees. As when winds blow across the surrounding clear land, there is nothing to stop their acceleration. When they hit the trees, the impact can snap them in half. Second, rainforest fragments dry out when surrounded by dry, hot pasture, and the resulting drought can have devastating consequences. The most serious is increasing mortality, especially of mature trees. Across much of the planet, forests of slow-growing Asian trees have cleared for human use. In Western North America, most have been replaced by monocultures of fast-growing conifers. Siberia's forests are being logged at an incredible rate. Logging in tropical forest is selective, but the timber cutter usually prioritizes the biggest and oldest trees. Heading for paragraph G is 7th. Risk from pest and infection. Particular enemies to tree are insect and diseases. Across vast areas of western North America, increasingly mild winters are causing massive outbreak of bark beetle. These tiny creatures can kill entire forests as they tunnel their way through in the inside of trees. In both North America and Europe, fungus-causing diseases such as Dutch elm and disease have killed off millions of stately trees that once gave beauty to forests and cities. As a result of human activity, such enemies reach even the remotest corners of the world, threatening to make the ancient giants a thing of past. This paragraph gives information about risk from pest and infection. That such animals reach even the remotest corners of the world, threatening to make the ancient giant a thing of the past. The biggest trees in the world can be found in dash. Its answer is in paragraph B, first line. The mightiest are native to North America, but big trees grow all over the globe, from the tropics to the boreal forest of the high altitudes. Here is clearly mentioned that the mightiest or the biggest are native to North America. Ninth is, some trees in northern Australia die because of dash made worse by gamba grass. Its answer is in paragraph C, fourth line. Across much of the northern Australia, gamba grass from Africa is overrunning native savanna woodland. The grass grows up to 4 meters tall and burns fiercely, creating super hot fires that cause catastrophic tree mortality. Here is clearly mentioned that gamba grass creates super hot fires because it easily gets burned. 10th, The clerks believed that the release of dash from dead trees could lead to death of more trees. Its answer is in paragraph E, second line. According to the clerks, this might trigger a destabilization of the climate. As older trees die, forests would release some of their stored carbon into the atmosphere, promoting a vicious cycle of further warming, forest shrinkage, and carbon emissions. Here is clearly mentioned that when oldest tree would die, and then the release of carbon from dead trees will affect the atmosphere, as forests would release some of their stored carbon, which will be produced by dead trees. 11. Strong dash are capable of damaging tall trees in the Amazon. Its answer is in paragraph E, fifth line. In the Amazon, my colleagues and I found the mortality rate for the biggest trees had tripled in small patches of the rainforest surrounded by pasture land. This happens for two reasons. First, as they grow taller, big trees become thicker and less flexible. When winds blow across the surrounding cleared land, there is nothing to stop their acceleration. When they hit the trees, the impact can snap them in half. Here is clearly mentioned that when winds blow across the surrounded clear land, there is nothing to stop their acceleration, and they are that strong when they hit the trees, the impact can snap them in half. 12th, dash has worse impact on the tall trees than smaller ones. In paragraph F, last fourth line, second, rainforest fragments dry out when surrounded by dry, hot pasture, and resulting drought can have devastating consequences. One 4-year study has shown that death rates will double for smaller trees, but will increase 4.5 times for the bigger trees. Here is mentioned that droughts can have devastating consequences. And one 4-year study has shown that death rate will double for smaller trees, but will increase 4.5 times for bigger trees caused by drought. Drought has worse impact on tall trees than smaller ones. 13. In Western Northern America, a species of dash has destroyed many trees. In paragraph G, first line, across vast areas of Western North America, increasingly mild winters are causing massive outbreak of bark beetle. These teeny creatures can kill entire forests as they tunnel their way through the inside of trees. The statement is that a species of dash has destroyed many trees. Bark beetle is a species of beetle, so its answer is only beetle. In Western North America, a species of beetle, not a species of bark beetle. A species of beetle has destroyed many trees.